Welcome to today's class. Today we are going to read about the topic the search for genetic material. Now genetic material was studied by various scientists like that of Mendel, Morgan when they worked upon the pea plant, or that of the Drosophila fly. Even the Nuslin, which was discovered by Mesher, was done, but that what is the genetic principle behind the transformation of an organism, or for the appearance of a character in an organism, was still not being discovered properly. So that this search of the genetic material could be possibly established, that was only possible by Griffith's experiment. Griffith was the first scientist, Frederick Griffith, in 1928, when he actually worked upon an organism that is called the Streptococcus, and this bacteria is responsible for causing pneumonia in case of human beings. Now what he did for this experiment to know that what exactly causes pneumonia, or what is responsible for the happening of pneumonia in an organism, he experimented with that of the Streptococcus with respect to the mice population. Now what he did is that he saw that when this bacteria Streptococcus was grown on a culture media in laboratory condition, there were two strains of bacteria which were obtained. One was called as your S strain, which had a smooth capsulated covering around the cell wall of the bacterial cell, which was a polysaccharide, which was quite shiny and smooth in appearance, and the other strain of the bacteria did not have this kind of smooth capsulated structure around it, so he named it as rough strain. Now he wanted to know that whether both the strains of this bacteria were capable of causing pneumonia in case of mammals. Especially he wanted to experiment, so experimental material, easy material is rat, because rat is organism which can multiply itself in a year more than once, so it is difficult to study effect on human beings compared to that of the organisms which are smaller mammals and which can propagate multiple times in a year. So what he did is, in his first experiment, he took S strain, that is a smooth capsulated bacteria Streptococcus, and injected into the mice, and he saw that the mice died. That is, the mice suffered from pneumonia and the mice died. Fine. Then he took the R strain of this same bacteria, that is rough, which was not encapsulated, and he injected into the mice, and he saw that the mice was alive. Mice did not die. Okay, next what he did is that he thought that, okay, let us do one thing. If we can because earlier people thought that the transforming principle to be protein, not to be any nucleic acid or the DNA was not established that time, but nucleic acid. So they did not have this idea that nucleic acid could be the transforming principle. Most of them, they thought that probably it is a protein which undergoes the transformation. So what they thought of that if protein is heated, then protein gets denatured, isn't it? So he taking that idea in his mind, what he did is that he took the S strain and he heat killed those bacteria, and then he injected it into the mice body, and he saw that as a result of heating of the S strain, which could cause the disease, pneumonia disease, in its live condition, the mice developed the disease and the mice died. But in this case, when the same S strain was heat treated, and then it was injected into the mice survived, the mice lived. So now he thought of that, let us make it a confirmation that what will happen if I take the mixture of S strain, which was heat killed, and the R strain, which was alive. Okay, and this mixture he took and he injected into the mice body, and to his surprise he saw that the mice died. Now if separately S strain was injected, the mice separately S strain was injected, which was heat killed, the mice survived. R strain, when it was injected, the mice survived. But when the mixture of these two, the result was mice survived, was togetherly, injected into the mice, why did the mice died? This question came to his mind, and he thought of, from his experimental result, that there must be some kind of transforming principle which, from the S strain which was killed or heat killed rather, S strain, something might have come across which have transformed the R strain, which was avirulent, into virulent strain. Because from here it cannot go to this because it is already killed. So definitely it must be something which has come from this to the live organism, and which has changed this live organism to able to secrete that polysaccharide capsule around itself and transform itself into smooth. And why he was so confirmed about his result is because when he took the body cells of these mice which has died and tested it to see what is actually present in the body cells, which type of cells are present, whether rough strain is present, whether smooth heat killed strain is present, or what is present. So he saw that all the cells which he obtained of the that is the streptococcus were present in the body cells, they were all smooth walled. That means the live strain has undergone a transformation which resulted into appearance of the smooth or the virulent strain, which resulted into the death of the mice. So from there he got the idea of transforming principle. Now what exactly was the transforming principle? Whether it was a protein or whether it was a nucleic acid, that he did not do any experiment. But he just experimented and he got a result. He got to a conclusion that something, it can be a protein, it can be a nucleic acid, or it can be anything, because biomolecular test he did not do, but it was something which could happen or which could result into the transformation of this R strain into smooth strain, resulting into the death of the mice. Okay, now to know what is the transforming principle, it was again 3 scientists who worked together to know what is the biochemical nature of this transforming principle which Griffith has obtained. Because Griffith did not do a biochemical testing of the transforming principle. So he was, it was a blind-ended experiment. He could not, give a definite idea that what was the transforming principle. So these 3 scientists, they were Avery, MacLeod and McCarthy. They worked together, and they actually worked upon the major 3 biomolecules. That is, they worked upon the protein, they worked upon the DNA, they worked upon the RNA, and wanted to know that what exactly was responsible for the transformation of the organism, that is the R strain organism, into smooth strain that resulted in the death of the mice. They extracted the body cells of the mice which was infected by that of the Streptococcus bacteria, and they isolated those biomolecules, okay, all those biomolecules, and they treated them with particular enzymes which could degrade them. And on degrading that thing with the help of the enzyme like RNase or protease, they found that still the transformation was going on. That means when they treated those cells with that of the protease, so the protein was degraded, but still transformation was happening. So that means protein is not the transforming principle. Then they treated it with RNase. Now RNase, what it will be doing? It will be degrading or denaturing the RNA. So that also did not do any effect, and transformation was quite possible, and it was showing transformation even if the things were treated with that of the RNase. And finally, when they treated the biomolecules with that of the DNase, they saw that transformation was inhibited. So transformation inhibited, why? Because the DNA was not in its original form. So DNA could not, this DNA from the S strain could not transform the RNA strain into smooth. So from there they got an assurance, or they got an idea, which Griffith failed to do so, that the transforming principle which Griffith was talking about in his experiment was none other than that of the DNA. But it was not experimentally proved. Okay, so for the experimental proof, again there were few more scientists who came now into limelight to work upon and to establish that yes, it was the DNA, not the protein, not the RNA, which is responsible for the transformation of the rough into smooth strain and resulted into the death of the mice. Okay, that the genetic material is DNA was unequivocally proved by the experiment of yet two another scientists in 1952. These were the scientists called Hershey and Chase. Now this Hershey and Chase, what they did is that now they took two organisms. One was a bacteriophage. Now what is this bacteriophage? Is a kind of virus which kills a bacteria, or which can infect a bacteria, that we called it as a bacteriophage. And they took a very commonly available bacteria, that is the E. coli bacteria. Now E. coli bacteria multiplies within 20 minutes, so it was easy to find out the result in a very short period of time. That's why they selected the E. coli bacteria. And what they did is that they took separate culture media to grow these bacteriophages. In one, they took the radioactive sulfur. Radioactive sulfur is S35. And as we know that that is your proteins are made up of sulfur, so they had a doubt that whether the transforming principle was that of your protein or that of your DNA. So to make it sure, they grew separately the bacteriophage populations in two different culture media. One was having radioactive sulfur, because sulfur is an important part of protein, and another one was having radioactive phosphorus, that is your P32, because DNA is having the phosphoric acid. And after growing for the several generations, now they allowed this bacteriophage to infect a E. coli bacteria. So when this bacteriophage infected the group of bacteriophage which grew in S35, radioactive S35, were allowed to infect, with the help of this your spikes, they can sit into this that is your bacterial cell wall and allow, because this the middle piece, this one is having a spring like structure, because of which it will be pierced down, and as a result of it the DNA will be incorporating, or it will be entering into the E. coli cell. So had it been that the that is radioactivity is associated with that of the protein or the DNA, how to determine it? So what they did is that they put these infected E. coli bacteria into a blender. Blender will do what? It will result into distortion of the cells, and that breakage of the E. coli cells will take place. And then they centrifuge them. And after centrifuging, what they found is that, you see, in case of centrifuge, the substances which are having higher density, they will settle down at the bottom, and those which are lighter will be floating at the top. So they saw two different separate regions of supernatant and that of the that is the filtrate. Okay, so supernatant was having the capsules, the ghost capsules, which was not having the DNA in it, and those capsules showed radioactivity. Now, as we know that the bacteriophage's capsule is made up of protein capsomeres, so it proved that it is associated with the capsule, it is not associated with the genetic material. And as far as the radioactivity of the E. coli cells which had sedimented as a result of your centrifugation, they did not show any kind of radioactivity. So the organisms, the bacteriophages which were growing in radioactive sulfur, they showed radioactivity restricted to their capsule, which was made up of protein, not with their DNA, which was totally not having any sulfur in it. So, and in the side by side, what they did is that they allowed the other kind of bacteriophage to grow in a culture medium having the radioactive phosphorus, that is P32. And as a result of it, after several generations, the radioactive substance got incorporated into it, and this bacteriophages were allowed to again infect the E. coli cells. Now when they infected the E. coli cells, again the genetic material passed on from the head portion into the E. coli cells and got itself incorporated into the chromosome of the E. coli bacteria, and when again they were put into blender and again centrifuged, again two different layers were formed. One was the sediment layer and one was the supernatant layer. Supernatant layer had the capsule, the ghost capsule, which did not this time showed any kind of radioactivity. So the capsule showed no radioactivity, whereas the cells, the E. coli cells, showed positive result towards the radioactivity. So that means what, the DNA which has come from this head portion of the bacteriophage, since it got incorporated into the genetic material of the bacteria, that is the E. coli, that is why radioactivity was positive with respect to the genetic material of the E. coli bacteria, proving it that, or confirming it, that it is actually the DNA which undergoes the transformation. It is not the protein with which the capsule is made up of, which is the factor responsible for transformation. Okay, so this is how it was proved that the genetic material is DNA, finally experimentally by Hershey and Chase. The next thing which has been discussed in your chapter is related to that of the properties of DNA, that is DNA versus RNA. See, both DNA and RNA is genetical, that means they are genetic material. RNA is a genetic material mostly in case of viruses. RNA can be single stranded, it can be double stranded. Okay, so RNA is a genetic material, but RNA has its non-genetic application also. What is a non-genetic application of RNA? You will be coming to know in the next classes to follow that RNA sometimes acts as a catalyst. That means it can undergo various kinds of catalytical reactions within the cell. RNA is responsible for the formation of an organelle which is called the ribosomes, which is the protein factory of the cell. So protein synthesis is associated with that of the RNA. RNA acts as a messenger RNA for the transcription process. That means DNA is double stranded, but the information which is present in the DNA has to be coded, has to be encoded rather. So for the encoding of the information present in the DNA, RNA has to come into play. DNA alone is not capable enough to express itself. For expression of the genetic information stored in the DNA, it has to be transcribed into RNA, that is called the messenger RNA, and that messenger RNA, by the help of transfer RNA, which is also known as the adapter RNA, it carries the amino acids with respect to the codon present in the mRNA and then form the polypeptide chain or the protein. And now this protein can be a hormone, this protein can be an enzyme which is responsible for the expression of a phenotypic character, that is the Mendelian inheritance, that is the appearance of any character is as a result of the formation of a protein from a particular segment of the DNA. But directly from the nucleic acid, that is from the DNA, phenotypic expression cannot take place. For the formation of the phenotypic expression, the nucleic acid has to be step by step translated into protein, and then only it can have its expression in the organism. So that is actually the step of which we call it as your gene expression. So gene can express. How it can express? From the DNA to the protein via all these steps. So this actually steps, that is DNA at first will undergo replication. That means it has to first copy itself, isn't it? It has to first copy itself. Now this process of copying of DNA from the parental DNA, we call this process to be replication. After replication, one of the strand, which is called the template strand. Now DNA is having two strands. Suppose my two hands are two strands. So the two strands have to be separated, and any one strand has to be coded, because both the strands, if they are coded, then it will be a confusion, because upper strand, suppose it is coding for a particular protein, the lower strand is coding for a particular protein. So it will be confusion for the body or for the body cells to produce which type of protein. So, and also we all know that the DNA is complementary, so whenever the two strands will be produced, they can again wind among themselves to produce a double-stranded DNA structure. So the protein translation cannot happen. So for this reason, any one strand has to act as a template, and with respect to that strand, the information which is present there, that is produced in the form of messenger RNA. Messenger means it is carrying some messages from where? From the DNA. So this process is called as your transcription. And after a certain segment of the DNA is transcribed, because the entire DNA, it's not transcribed in case of eukaryotic organisms, but in case of prokaryotic organisms, many segments of the that is the DNA strands are transcribed simultaneously. So we call it as your polycistronic mRNA. But in case of eukaryotes, generally it is monocistronic. That means whenever the body is requiring a particular thing to happen or to produce, only that segment of the DNA will be producing the respective protein. So this is called monocistronic expression. Okay, so this process of formation of your mRNA from the DNA, that is called transcription. And after the mRNA strand is produced, now this mRNA, depending upon what that is your base sequences, nitrogen base sequences are present over there, with respect to that, an anticodon end of another molecule of RNA, which is called the tRNA, transfer RNA, carrying a respective amino acid with respect to it, will be coming and binding. And in this case, the ribosomal subunits will be helping to form this polypeptide chain, and also there will be one enzyme, that is your synthase enzyme, okay, protein or peptide synthase enzyme. So this all will be togetherly functioning to form this polypeptide chain, and once it is formed, then it is again finalized. That means, since the proteins are very reactive, so it has to be made in such a way, final touching has to be given in such a manner that it is not degraded before it functions. So, and then that will be leading to the formation or expression of the phenotypic character in the organism, which is called the translation. So all these steps from the replication, transcription and translation is called as your central dogma. Okay, so the properties of DNA and RNA, as I was telling you, that both of them acts as genetic material. RNA generally is a genetic material in case of viruses, and DNA can be genetic material for the viruses, it can be for the prokaryotes, for the eukaryotes. As far as the properties of the genetic material is concerned, always a genetic material should be capable of replication. Okay, so it should first of all replicate. Secondly, the thing is that it should be a stable one. Okay, it should be a stable one. It should have a property of mutation, small mutation of course, because mutation is a basis for evolution. And finally, the genetic material should be able to express itself. So all these properties of the genetic material is satisfied by that of the DNA. RNA satisfies, but to some extent RNA does not satisfy certain conditions, like for example stability. If we consider, DNA is much more stable than that of the RNA because DNA is double stranded. So complementary base pairing is there, it is more stable. RNA is catalytic, and it is more always helping in the catalysis of various reactions, so it is very unstable. And another reason for RNA being unstable is that it has it is having the sugar, ribose sugar, which is having a 2' hydroxyl group. So the 2' hydroxyl group in every nucleotide of the RNA makes it much more unstable, because hydroxyl group is very reactive. But this hydroxyl group in the 2' position of the carbon is not found in case of DNA, because DNA is deoxy. So one oxygen is less. From where? From the second carbon position. So, but the second carbon position is having the hydroxyl group in case of RNA. So that makes it more unstable compared to that of the DNA. And then of course, if you consider the nitrogen bases, in case of RNA, if you remember, instead of thiamine, it has uracil, and uracil is much more reactive. So uracil is makes the RNA much more unstable, and RNA is single stranded. So that is also the reason why it is not a better genetic material than that of the DNA. But RNA is also able to express itself. And another property of the genetic material, which I told you, that it should be expressing. So DNA cannot alone express itself. Here DNA has some problem. So DNA to express itself, it needs the help of various types of RNA. So these are the properties of DNA versus RNA. RNA can be non-genetic. I told you ribosomal RNA, which forms the ribosomes. It can be transfer RNA, which brings the amino acid having the anticodons bases at its anticodon end. Then RNA can be mRNA, that means messenger RNA containing the information of the template strand of the DNA. So RNA has multiple functions, but DNA is basically a genetic material and it is much more stable than that of the RNA. Okay, so this is all about the today's class of the various experiments related to the genetic material being established as DNA after a long period of time, right from the Mendelian time. Mendel said factor, Morgan and his associates, chromosomes, linkage, so many things they said. But what this factor is made up of, what is the biochemical nature of these things, it was actually, helped by the Griffiths experiment, followed by a very MacLeod-McCarthy, and finally establishing it by the help of Hershey and Chase experiments. So this is how DNA got into much more notice, and the structure of the DNA by this time was totally made, totally being found by this Watson and Crick, for which they got the Nobel also in 1956. And now it became much more easier for the people to work upon the DNA and to find out what it is made up of, the sequencing and everything, and thus the entire world got interested in it. So in the next class we are going to study is about the RNA world and the DNA replication, followed by the transcription, translation, and finally we have the Human Genome Project. Okay, so that's all for today's class.